I'm Cathy from Eclectic Images and thank you for joining me today. Today I'm going to do an Aussie scene on gloss card, and I was thinking what's a really Aussie scene, and I thought, how many times do we hear people from other countries saying, do you really have kangaroos in your main street? I thought that's what we could do, kangaroo in the main street. Now I don't know how about where you are, whether you get kangaroos, but I know our nearest town is the rural city of Ballarat, and there has been known to be kangaroos hopping down the main street. Not often, but it has occasionally happened. Certainly out where we are in the bush, we see lots of kangaroos. But so that's what we're going to do, a kangaroo in the main street. So here we go. So I'll be using a mixture of Eclectic Images stamps with some one of the uniquely creative sets as well. So let's have a look at our stamps. We've got the larger Aussie cottage, the picket fence, the Good On Ya set from Uniquely Creative. Now this set is about to be retired, so we do have some stock at the moment, but once it's gone, it's gone. Combined with that, we're going to add in some of our small flowers, and I'm not decided yet. I want to put a little bit of grass in, and I'm not quite sure whether to use this one out of the fence post and grass or this one out of the grass set. We'll see how the card's looking before we decide that, and yeah, that one's just going to happen. All right, we'll be applying our inks with the Future number 10 and number 2 brushes, and our inks are an array of Catherine Pooler colours. We've got Midnight for all the basic stamping, and then I'll be using shades of browns for our cottage and our kangaroo, and then some bright colours for putting some lovely flowers around. So let's get stamping. Grab some gloss card and my stamp press. Now stamp press is great when you're working with gloss card, because gloss card, it's very easy to slip when you're stamping on it. So by having it in the stamp press, it just helps to hold everything steady. I will do the stamp the kangaroo first. So we pop him on. So this is the one from the Good On Ya set, and I'll just have his little paws right off the edge of the card there. So you'll find with gloss card, especially with nice new sticky stamps, that they stick to the card. So I'm just going to pop my hand in, and when I laid the card down, I lined it up with the number 1 grid point on my stamp press. So that way I know where the card was, and I can just pop some magnets on to keep that in its place. Check that he's nicely attached to the plate of the stamp press, and with our Midnight ink, just tap across. Don't press, just tap. Now I do know with working on gloss card, yes, with a stamp press you can often, if you don't get a good image first time, you can often restamp it, but with gloss card it's very hard to, because it often moves when you lift the stamp up, so it's actually very hard to stamp a second time. So I'm going to pop this down and then use my stamp barren tool to really give it a good press, because I want a good image first time. I don't want to have to stamp this a second time. Pick it up, and I'm very happy with that image. So I can just take him off and give him a clean. And then grab our picket fence stamp, which I've got standing by. Now it's going to go in this bottom corner. I'm just making sure that the pickets are lining up with the edge of the card, and I can actually pop that magnet right in the middle there. Pick it up again, just stick my finger in and check that we're not lifting the card up too much. And that didn't look like it, or it had. Didn't look like it had moved, but it had moved slightly. Let's ink up our picket fence. There's going to be a bit of masking involved with this card, so we'll mask these images so that we can put our next image in behind them. But again, use my stamp barren tool just to make sure that I only have to do it once. Excellent. Now I did get a bit on my plate there, so I'm going to clean this stamp while it's still on the plate, and checking around for my cleaning cloth, which seems to have vacated itself, so a bit of paper towel will do. Okay, now to do the Aussie cottage, we're going to need to mask both of these so we can stamp the cottage in behind. So I've already pre-cut masks of the picket fence. Now I tell you, when you've made a mask of the picket fence, you don't want to have to make it again in a hurry. There's lots of little bits to cut out. And I've got a mask of our kangaroo as well. So we lay that one on there. And now I can actually put my magnet down there, because these ones aren't made out of sticky notes because they're a little bit big for the sticky note pad. So by placing that there, I can then use my magnets not just to hold down my card, but to hold down my mask as well. Let's have a look where this is going to go, and then I can see where to put my next magnet. Now looking for along the roof line of the house, making sure it's fairly parallel with the edge of the card, and I'll pop a magnet in there. Right, let's pick it up. Sometimes to build up these scenes it is a little bit involved, but the result you get makes it so worth it. Now the card's moved, the masks are moved, but I know exactly where everything was, so I can just slide it all back into place, pop those masks back on. It just happens because the stamp sticks to the gloss card. It doesn't happen as much with matte cardstock, but it's definitely a thing with the glossy card. Let's just get that one in position. Then we can start our inking. So again, Midnight. I find the Catherine Pooler Midnight Black is the best ink for stamping black onto gloss card. There's lots of others that will do it, but they don't seem to perform as well as the Catherine Pooler Black. It stays black, it doesn't rub off at all. It does need to be given a bit of a heat set, just to make sure that it's really dry.
You've got some really well-loved stamps there.
Oh, I have. And inks like Catherine Pooler, the Catherine Pooler Black stains your stamps the first time you use it on them. But others like archival inks and even the Memento inks, they can stain your stamps as well. And yes, my stamps are very loved and very well used. Let's just peel that off, and we've got a lovely cottage in behind our picket fence and our kangaroo. So when you're working on a scene, stamp your foreground images first, mask them, and then stamp the ones behind. So you work from the front back. Okay, now because, as I said, this needs to be heat set and to make sure that it's really dry, I've actually already pre-stamped one and dried it so that I'd be ready to go straight ahead with the colouring. So let's just pop our Aussie Cottage to one side, and then I'm ready to start colouring. Now, as we're saying, stamps can look very loved if they get stained, but it doesn't affect the quality of the stamp at all. So don't think that your stamps aren't still going to work beautifully even once they've picked up a little bit of staining. Okay, let's grab the card that I had already made. And also, when I made the mask of the kangaroo, I actually cut it out of the bit of computer paper, actually cut it out with a knife so that I would get the reverse mask as well, because I can lay that on him and it's going to mean I can colour him really easily. So pop that on there. I want some whipped honey for his face, so I'll grab a yellow brush for that, and probably a bit on his chest. So circles on your scrap, then circle onto the card, maybe a bit on his tummy too. Then we might come in with some sandcastle. So a lighter brown. And I'll cover the whole kangaroo in this brown, and then we can just add some deeper brown in areas if we want to. So circling over the whole image. I do have a little bit of card there that's wanting to lift up into his ears. Card, a bit of our masking paper is what I'm trying to say. So I'm going to actually just hold that down while I get his little front legs. And we might keep holding it down while I do his back legs. And if I just stipple that colour on, I'm not moving the paper around too much. It does mean the colour's going to be a bit stronger there, but that's okay for his legs. Just going to push it in a bit more where I want it to be a bit stronger. Okay, now I think we'll actually bring some darker colour in on his legs, but I'm going to keep that lighter brush close by because I may need to use it to actually soften off and blend the other brown. So we get some icing on the cake and a dark brown brush. And let's do some, stipple it in on his legs there, and then just fade it out. So a little bit, and then I'm actually going softer with the brush, and there's less ink on the brush as I go up the leg. Maybe a bit on the end of his tail as well. Now if we really wanted to be picky, we can come in with our number 2 size brush and actually add some deeper on his ears. If I get a little bit on his face, I'm just going to get the lighter brush, just buff it off a little bit. And we could also do a bit of shading on that leg that's in behind there. And again, let's get our other brush and just blend it out where it meets with the other colours. And we could even, I'm just going to turn my card around a little bit. We could actually come in and do a little bit of shading just behind that leg. It'll just give a little bit more depth there. And by giving depth, it also means it will give highlight to the big muscles of the back legs. Okay, now how easy is that to colour within your lines by putting a mask over it? I haven't bothered making a reverse mask of the picket fence. I'm just going to get my lighter brown with the sandcastle ink. And just pushing the brush on its side a bit. Just get a bit of colour in there. So you don't always have to do circles on gloss card. You can do wiggles, wiggling the brush back and forward. Let's go back to our finer brush with the darker brown and just add some texture into those fence posts. So I'm just basically inking the end of the brush and then just dragging it along just to give that a little bit more character. Of course, you could do your fence post in whatever colour you like. People paint their fences in all sorts of colours. On the cottage though, I do find when you're colouring in the cottage, particularly the smaller cottage when you're doing scenes, if you add too much colour, you do end up losing the detail of the cottage. So I'm just going to come in and add a little bit of colour here. We will stipple some onto that chimney there. Maybe a little bit more on the veranda. But really not putting much in there at all. I will pop in the little kangaroo mask though and just add a bit of green to that bush that's growing there. So I might go a bit of Martini. I'm working mainly with the Date Night collection of inks and the Luxe. Now the Luxe is the latest collection to have come out as minis. So we've got those in stock in the shop as minis, which is these rich colours like Martini. So just adding a little bit of green there. Okay, so let's start building up a bit more of a scene here. A bit more background colour for our scene is what I'm trying to say. So we want to have some blue in the sky. We want to have some, and I'll just grab a blue for that. We might get some cummerbund. Oh look, I'm adding more colours, Matthew. I didn't have enough colours out. Cummerbund and some dress blues for our sky. And we'll come in with some green for the grass. So for doing this, I'm going to mask everything. And the challenge will be holding all these masks in place. You know what could be a really good thing to help with this? And that is our art station, which I'm just going to grab. The Couture Creations magnetic art station, because I can actually use the magnets in this but what I'm going to do is put a little bit of paper, a bit of scratch paper underneath our card, so So that way when I'm going off the edges, because you know when I'm working with gloss card, I like to start off the page so that my brush is circling when it hits the page. That way I get far less brush marks. So if I pop this down here, I can actually, and let's put the cottage mask in straight away, I can actually use magnets to help hold my masks in place. Oh, that's a bit clever. I'll have to adjust when I get down close to the picket fence, but to start with, let's pop that there. Okay, so we'll start with some cummerbund and start on our blue sky. So inking up your brush, start off on your scrap and then just come in with circles. And look, that's just going to sit there. Put another one there just to hold everything. That's so much easier than holding all my masks in place, isn't it? I only have to now hold them just when I get close to them. So cummerbund is a nice brilliant blue, so that's going to give us a lovely blue sky. Which we have here at the moment at home. Middle of summer, wonderful blue skies. Now I'm going to do some green grass, so I'll just fade that out a little bit as we get down there. So start your brush on your scrap, then moving on to the card. Trying to avoid as much as you can getting brush strokes. However, if you do get a few brush strokes, not the end of the world. We can have a few clouds in our sky. There's usually a way around with our paper crafting, isn't there? We don't have to have everything absolutely perfect, even though I do like a good blend. Okay, I'm now going to bring in just a little bit of dress blues around the edge, but I'll keep my cummerbund brush standing by. Such a warm day, I'm sort of glowing a little bit here.
It's 31 degrees, but we're expecting a thunderstorm in 4 hours.
Right. So adding a bit of the deeper blue there, but keeping my lighter blue brush on hand just to buff the edges and make sure that blends nicely with the first blue that we did. Now the only issue with having my card all pinned down like this is it's a bit harder to, you know, I often like to spin my card around so that I'm working at really good angles with my brushes. I guess I could move the whole mat. Oh, look, there you go. Now when you're doing something like this, don't do too much in one go. Just do a small section and blend it back before you move on to the next bit. These inks do give you, they don't dry instantly, they give you some drying, some blending time. But if I go all the way across the top there, they would certainly dry before I got back to do my blending. So just work a small section at a time until you're happy with your blending. Right, let's come in now with not sticking my thumb in the ink pad. We'll wipe that off on my apron. Come in with some In the Park. And this is where we're going to add some grass tones. So you can work from your masks out or the edge of the card up. Now I'm just going to, as I did with the blue, just phase the green out rather than actually creating a whole horizon line. Which would mean if I wanted to create a definite horizon line, then it would mean another mask, a straight line mask, which is certainly something that you can do. Now I need to remove this mask because we need to get some green showing in between those fence posts, which is why I've gone to all the trouble of cutting them out so we can get colour going in behind there. Oh, that's wonderful. Okay. Now we're going to add some extra stamping in, and for this I'm happy for the stamping to go in front of our kangaroo, and this is where I'm choosing which grass to use. I think maybe the finer grass. So I'll just pop that on a little block, and with that In the Park ink, Now it is fairly fine and soft, so that might be enough of that one. I will get the one from the fence post and grass set as well. And let's change to the martini ink so we can do a few stronger images as well. So we can do something sort of coming over the top of our kangaroo and certainly out from our fence posts. And now I want to add in some little flowers. Let's do a second generation there. There we go. That little kangaroo is so cute, isn't he? So one of our gorgeous stamps is for this sort of scene is the smaller size lavender from the lavender set. So the lavender set's got a bigger one, a smaller one. For this particular scene, the smaller one's going to work best. So I'll grab the Serene ink. Sorry, Serenade. Date Night Collection, Serenade. And ink up the blossom part. Let's make sure that's really stuck onto my block. And then with Martini, I'm just going to stamp the leaves and the stem. So I'm watching that I'm not going over the purple too much. Sometimes you go over a little bit, not the end of the world. But it's nice if you can keep it to just the leaves and the stem. Pop the mask back in and put our lavender coming out from behind the fence. See, that's a bit cute, isn't it? Let's have another go. So I'll do the Serenade first, ink up the blossom part. Now this isn't a solid stamp, so if I wanted to be really picky, I could come in with some Serenade and actually fill in those blossoms a bit, and it depends on how much time I get here whether I actually get a chance to do that. Certainly at home, if you wanted to, you could just with your fine brush just dab a little bit of the purple Serenade in there to fill that in a bit more. And that makes me think, maybe a solid lavender would be a good thing for the collection. Let's pop some more up that side. And then I'm going to do some smaller flowers, some behind and some in front of the fence. So we'll grab one of our tiny little blossoms. So these are from the Flower Centre Smalls set. I'm going to be using these two. And this is where some of these other ink colours come in. So let's grab some Catching Rays, which is the orangey yellow. And we're going to do so it's very much a backgroundy one, and that doesn't show up much at all. That's okay because we're building layers here. Let's grab some Do-si-do, and in fact these colours it's probably going to be best if I do them all behind the fence, except if I sneak a few out into the grass, just because this is stamped in black. If I stamp the flower over there, it's going to have black lines through it, which will spoil some of the effect. But we can certainly have them peeking out from the fence.
Did you know there's a white flower that when it gets wet it turns invisible?
No.
I wish I could tell you more like the name or anything, but I can't remember it. Something like skeleton flower or something.
Wow. I wonder why that developed. What was its need to disappear? Is it extra yummy after it's been rained on? So it was keeping all the mousse away?
I don't know.
Once again, so this time I've got Pucker Up. Now I've got distracted. I've got Pucker Up, which is our gorgeous pink. And I'll swap to one of the other small flowers.
Are these flowers growing wild, or is this a retired person's house and they've got time to plant
It's
flowers?
someone who's got time to plant flowers and look after them. That could be us in a few years, hey? Retire and just do eclectic things. That's so pretty. Okay, I think that's enough. Wow. Okay. Move my magnets out of the way. I'll just lift that up and we're going to move it forward, Matthews, onto the black tablecloth so that you can get a nice shot of that. And there is our kangaroo hopping down the main street past a lovely little cottage garden. I like it. I hope you like it too, and I hope you're really happy to have a go. So remember, on the gloss card, we use our nice big brushes. I do find that the normal blending brushes don't work as well on the glossy card. It tends to grab. These number 10 brushes give you a much better chance of blending your inks. So hopefully you'll have a go, but certainly this same scene could work just as well on matte cardstock using blending brushes. And we'll do one with blending brushes in another video. So thanks for watching today. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.